Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Off the Cuff. It's kind of an episode of Off the Cuff. Not really sure. I'll just go with this. So, I wanted to talk about GDPR. It's kind of got to me a bit the last couple of weeks, and I've been meaning to do a little discussion about it, and I just thought, I'd combine two ideas I had and just talk about both of them in this video. And the first was the fact that the EU don't actually care about your privacy at all. They don't care about your data protection. That's the first thing. And the second thing is how GDPR affects businesses and the free market. Well, but obviously it affects the free market, but it affects the little guy. It actually harms them. So I thought I'd just start by reading out what GDPR was intended to do as far as the EU is concerned. So they say here, this regulation lays down rules relating to the protection of natural persons with regard to the processing of personal data and rules relating to the free movement of personal data. This regulation protects fundamental rights and freedoms of natural persons, and in particular, their right to the protection of personal data. And finally, free movement of the personal data within the Union shall be neither restricted nor prohibited for reasons connected with the protection of natural persons with regard to the processing of personal data. So, they're setting out here that it's about the protection of your data and the rules of the free movement of personal data. Now, the goals of it aren't as important, because to me, it's like I can say, look, I'm trying to help you when I'm trying to take someone's money. It doesn't matter what I say I'm trying to do. It's how I'm going about doing it, how I'm explaining myself, all that kind of stuff. Not that the union feels any need to explain themselves to anyone. But, that's how it goes. So, firstly, I'd want to talk about how does it harm the little guy. So, I'm a web developer. I've said this in many videos, and I'm sure you roll your eyes when you hear it, but it doesn't matter. So, I have personal experience with GDPR because that is the main area where GDPR has been hit in my eyes. As far as I'm aware, it's hit the internet, hit web the most. I know it affects other areas, but that's where, in technology, that's where data protection is really needed. Especially the biggest enemies being Google and Facebook, you could tell that's where their goals were. So, the reason it affects the little guy the most is because now, well, it's just like any regulation, really. Small businesses are affected by it. Now, you have the UK is trying to bring in various regulations with IR35, but IR35 only applies to companies with over 100 employees. So that little bakery with 3 people, no worry. And that is what they should have done with GDPR. Because there's no way that some website... there is some scenarios where a website has less than 100 employees, and because they're a website, they can, track loads of users' data and they can still manage themselves. That's what tends to happen. That's why they probably did put that restriction. That's the logic I can see. But here's the thing is, I'm building a website. I'm building, obviously, a lot of websites. And each website I build, if there's any sort of functionality for logging in, logging out, or just basically anything, just about anything with the website, I have to think now, am I tracking users? If I want to have any sort of analytics or add anything from another website, like say embed YouTube links, I've got to think about GDPR. And this means a lot of time and effort on my own side. I've got a lot of the clients I work with are quite small. They're really small. 2 of my clients are one guy, pretty much. It's one guy. So that one guy has to go and hire a lawyer to write privacy policies, which he wouldn't have had to. It wouldn't be as big a concern before. And meanwhile, I have to provide a list. And if anything changes the website, he's going to have to get that privacy policy updated to include the new data tracking. Now, thankfully, having one client also means they don't care so much about, what data they're tracking. It's not a big deal. They care more about what the project is that I'm working on. So I've managed to find, ways to track users without tracking private information. So we can get a feel for how many people are going on the website, how busy traffic is, things like that, without actually saying, some Jim Bob from North Hampshire or something like that. We don't care. So there's ways around it, sure. But that means I had to spend time searching for it. Now we're going to have to handle that kind of thing ourselves. Because if we try to use Google Analytics, I can tell you, Google, guess what? They still track everything. So there's many web development struggles with trying to track users, now we're having to think about everything. And of course, now, as we all know, there's all these stupid pop-ups that appear on every new website, every news website, everywhere you go, you're going to get that pop-up. You know exactly what I'm on about if you've spent more than 5 minutes on the internet. A pop-up that says allow or don't allow. It used to just say allow because don't allow has been added in because of GDPR. But the fun thing is, of course, I have seen plenty of websites without any don't allow. Because what they do is they just say, by continuing to use this website, we're going to track you. So the don't allow is don't use the website. And of course, only certain websites can afford to do that. But here's the thing, is before GDPR, we had years and years and years of everyone learning to click that button, to click allow, just automatically. So the GDPR was completely useless in stopping tracking because all these companies know that users are just going to keep clicking the button as they always did. So just because you've added a don't allow button, and some websites use anti-patterns, which I'm not going to go into the full detail of anti-patterns, but essentially it's using psychology to make one button seem like the one you're supposed to press and another button like the one you're not supposed to press. It's extremely simplified, not an accurate description, but describes what I mean in the circumstances. So, they'll have a tiny bit of text in the corner that you don't really see saying don't allow. Technically, the button's still there, but most users aren't actually going to notice, and they're just going to click the big shiny button that says allow or agree or whatever. So, anti-patterns have meant that, you're not really ending up protecting anyone because the users are just following psychology they've been using for ages. Following the same motions they've been going through for ages. It's the muscle memory now, no doubt. Small businesses are having to work much harder, or at least much harder relatively, to keep themselves, to make sure their website is all legal. And for the ones who don't make it through, here's for the reason why the EU doesn't actually care about data protection, in my opinion. Because they fine anyone who breaks the laws. Just like every regulation that gets brought in by pretty much every government, they make money by punishing all the people who don't fit the bill. If you go through the EU's list, you see there's some stupid reasons for disallowing data protection. They find a gambling company something like 25,000 euros for having videoing customers, having video surveillance. I know a little shop down around the corner that has video surveillance in their shop. I know why they have it. They've got a little shop. They've got 2 guys. If someone steals from them, often, it'll seriously affect them. They're not going to go sell that data to some bloody tracking company and be like, yeah, by the way, this guy was in our shop on this day, so you know that he likes these products. Because that's the whole problem with data protection. That's what people are concerned about. People are worried about Amazon and Facebook collaborating, tracking them through Alexa and tracking them through, whatever they post on Facebook, and then recommending products to them. That's what people are really worried about. People are worried about massive companies using their data, selling it to political campaigns to try and find out who they're going to vote for using, psychological reports and, putting together profiles of them. That's the concern. Facebook and Google were the ones that people were so worried about. People didn't want another Cambridge Analytica scandal, which I'm skeptical of myself, but, that's aside. So the issue here then was always the big, massive companies. They were the ones that we didn't want the EU to be fining. We didn't want them to be making money off them because, let's face it, Google and Facebook, they are fine. They can pay massive fees Just like the massive train companies who are fined for late trains in the UK, they'll happily pay those fees if they can get away with doing what they're doing. And they do. Companies like Google and Facebook, let's face it, they've found a way around it. They find the loopholes. They can pay lawyers to get around it, and there's absolutely no problem for them. No issue at all for them. And I'll quickly prove it. So what I'm going to do here, on the screen hopefully, is I'm going to open up an incognito tab. Right? Let's go to... Now I've also opened up the developer tools there, so we can keep track of what cookies are being written to the browser. And I'm going to go to our favorite newspaper, Guardian. Now I've just entered the Guardian as an incognito user. I've not clicked accept. I've not clicked I'm okay with that in the bottom left. And whoa, look at all these websites that have saved cookies to my browser. I don't even know how many cookies have been saved. It's okay. So let's say we've got one there. I'm not going to count all these out. There's probably about 20 there. So this website loves tracking me. Let's see, ads.pubmatic.com. Yeah, I know that website. I love it. So they've tracked me, and I've not clicked accept at all. In fact, I'm going to go here to the bottom left, and I'm going to say, don't track me here, don't track me here. So off on all these. The only things I have to leave on apparently is features, which, you know, no one's going to go into this. No one's going to go into this. Now, they're not using anti-patterns here. They've got the save and close button is more prominent. They don't have a disagree button or reject. So you have to go through, make sure you reject all these. I like that there are some websites I've been on where they just have a nice big reject all. And you know, I just clicked that immediately. And you can see these are all the vendors that Guardian is working with. It's only a few hundred companies tracking using your data. It's probably about 100, 200. I can't reject them individually. There's no option for that. So I can only reject using my data for information storage access, personalization, ad selection, delivery reporting, content selection, delivery reporting, and measurement. So measurement is just keeping track of how many users have gone to their site and all that. So I'm going to have to save and close that. Nothing changes at all with these cookies. They're still all saved there. And, you know, if I scroll down here, I go through, oh, there's a video. Let's watch this video. Oh, what just happened there? Oh, it looks like YouTube just saved my visitor info. So YouTube knows now that I've watched a video on this Guardian page. They've just tracked my information there. I didn't agree to that because YouTube probably has something that says, if you use our player, you agree. So GDPR has not done the job that it was supposed to do. And I will promise you this, the EU does not care. They do not care. They never did care. The only time they're going to care about Google and Facebook is whether or not they get a slice of the pie. Now, obviously, I can't read their minds, so I don't know that for sure, but that's my opinion. I please, if you think that GDPR is brilliant, please leave a comment. State your argument, state your reasons. Because it's my opinion that GDPR was not about protecting anyone's data. Because if it was, they would have done the research and they would have found the most effective way to help users, to make sure that users were protected. And what has been the most effective solution for protecting data? The bottom-up approach. That has worked brilliantly. We got VPNs. VPN companies are doing brilliantly because they work. Personally, I don't use a VPN because they only work so well. And because there's been free versions, free copies, if you really need it, there's tons of free options around that have been around for ages. They're not as fast, maybe, but, you know, it's win some, you lose some. And besides that, there's been site blocking. There are plenty of extensions that you can install in your browser that block third parties. And we won't even go into the fact that your browser has built-in features where you can, like, say, do not track. You can enable this feature in your browser called Do Not Track, which for me is it's the most stupid thing. It's essentially just saying to other websites, please don't track me. That's all it does. It's just basically saying to them, please don't track me. And the ones who respect that will not track you. I can attest from my own personal encounters that Google Analytics, probably the most widely used analytics platform, does not respect that. They track you. They don't care. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I just wanted to get this whole thing about GDPR out there. It doesn't work. It doesn't protect anyone. And the EU don't care about it. I mean, I'm sure this is not news to most of my viewers. But, yeah, I've heard it come up because I was rewatching really an old Curse Cassette video. And they were talking about the EU went after, they're happy to face on giants like Google and Facebook. No, they're happy to get money from Google and Facebook. Because the EU is about regulating, controlling the market. And as has been proven many times, regulating and controlling the market doesn't affect the massive companies, but it definitely affects the small businesses. It makes the bar all that much higher. And if some guy in the UK comes up with an amazing idea to take down or take on YouTube to come up with a better model, he has so many hurdles he's going to have to get through. But, that's just where we're at. And that's just the UK. But the EU is a whole nother bag. I'm glad we're out. So, yeah, that's pretty much all my opinion on the matter. I don't think that it does anything to protect personal data. And it's the most ineffective, or one of the most ineffective laws. And honestly, I wish it would just piss off, die, because it makes my work so much more difficult. Anyway, that's all. And yeah, leave a comment down below if you do have any opinions, whether you do or don't like GDPR. If you have your own anecdotal story or whatever, anything to tell me, if you've had any experiences with GDPR that have pissed you off, please leave a comment, because, well, I would really enjoy reading that. Anyway, till the next video, see ya.